Thank you for the honor of being able to speak with you this evening. When I was in religious school in the 1960s, they were still using film strips for instruction. This is before the age of video cassettes and DVDs, and those of you who are Generation Xers or Millennials, you might need to Google what a film strip is to really understand the incredible magic and beauty of them. One film strip I remember very vividly. It told the story of the destruction of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Each frame depicted a part of the story. Sodom and Gomorrah needed to be destroyed by God because the people were evil. God decides that he cannot hide the fate of the city from Abraham, and God shares with Abraham the plans for its destruction. Incensed by God's decision, Abraham literally questions God's moral decision-making. He begins to negotiate down the minimal number of righteous people who could be found in Sodom, which would convince God not to destroy the city. He negotiates down to 10, but Abraham cannot even find 10 people, and the city is set for decimation. And here is the text of the Torah. It says, "At break of day, the angels pushed Lot to get going. Hurry, get your wife and 2 daughters out of here before it is too late and you're caught in the punishment of the city." Lot, Abraham's nephew, and his family were residents of Sodom. When they had them outside, Lot was told, "Now run for your life. Don't look back. Don't stop anywhere on the plain. Run for the hills or you'll be swept away." Then God rained brimstone and fire down on Sodom and Gomorrah, a river of lava from God out of the sky, and destroyed these cities and the entire plain and everyone who lived in the cities and everything that grew up from the ground. And this is the key verse. But Lot's wife looked back and then turned into a pillar of salt. And anyone who's been in the Dead Sea area, you go and at the southern end of the Dead Sea, you see these gigantic salt pillars. And when you're there, you're looking. When I was a kid, and I was there when I was, I think, 12 years old, I looked at the Dead Sea and said, which pillar is Lot's wife? Now, I remember clearly the frame of the film strip which depicts Lot's wife looking back towards the city and turning into a pillar of salt. And I remember asking, why did she look back? My teacher, who couldn't handle a serious question, responded, "It doesn't matter why she looked back. God told her not to look back." That's the end of it. That teacher really wasn't a very good teacher. That made no sense to me. The punishment did not fit the crime. As I have continued to struggle with that moment in the biblical story for 50 years, literally, I have collected rabbinic explanations for what happened. There are a variety of them. Let me give you at least 2. According to rabbinic legend, Lot's wife was named Irit, and she and Lot had 4 daughters. 2 of their daughters fled with their parents out of Sodom, and there were also 2 other daughters who were already married to Sodomite men. And when Lot warned these 2 sons-in-law that Sodom was about to be destroyed, they laughed and said, "There is music and festivity in the city, and you speak about its destruction?" According to rabbinic legend, Irit had pity on her 2 other daughters, who were left behind with their husbands. She turned around because of her motherly concern. She could not accept their tragic fate. A sad interpretation of the story. Another interpreter, called Kli Yakar, shows Lot and his wife to be quite superficial. Lot and his wife were troubled because of all the property they left behind that was being destroyed, and looking back, Lot's wife was indicating her concern or attachment to these material possessions. Kind of superficial Lot's wife. I could give you dozens of other explanations. And candidly, I don't find many of them to be compelling, because none of them explain the actual punishment. It's not just that she was struck down, she was turned into a pillar of salt. Salt means something. Salt, even in ancient days, was a preservative. Something covered by salt was something that wasn't going to change, something that was tough and lifeless. Here is my take on that explanation. This is not a story about a woman disobeying God. It's about a woman who is stuck in the past. When Abraham is told to leave Haran, he leaves and does not look back. Lot's family is a study in denial and inertia. When the Lord tells his sons-in-law to flee for their lives, they laugh at him. And when it comes time for Lot himself to depart with his wives and daughters, he finds one reason after another to delay until angels literally have to drag him out of the city. And when Lot's wife looks back, instead of going forth, she becomes this poignant metaphor for the perils of inertia, of inaction, of being stuck, a lifeless piece of salt. Inertia is a tragedy in any person's life. For me, this story of Lot's wife and the pillar of salt resonates with the people that I encounter in my rabbinic work and with myself. We become encased in our own personal pillars of salt that prevent any forward movement. We get stuck in the past. We worry more about what has been than what can be. And it happens in many ways. Things happen in our lives. We fail. Not because we are incompetent. Sometimes things are not meant to be or are beyond our control. We sometimes have bad luck or we've made bad decisions. We spend a lot of time kicking ourselves that darkens our horizons. But in truth, many of the most successful people are the ones who do not get stuck in past failures. One example out of a million. Henry Ford's first two car companies failed and left him broke. But that didn't stop him from founding the Ford Motor Company and becoming the first to apply assembly line manufacturing for cars. And he became one of the three most famous and richest men in the world at his time. Let us not become pillars of salt. Our past sometimes cripples us. Bad things happen to us. People treat us unfairly. People manipulate us. Our parents are not perfect. People who we trust betray us. And we become fearful that the future will be a repetition of what has come before us. A life of constant review of past grievances and fears can only make us miserable and subvert our future. Let us not become pillars of salt. In the end, the past is interesting, but getting stuck in it is disastrous. Judaism is forward-looking. We have this optimistic view that the future is hopeful. That's the entire message of the high holidays. Things can be better, we can be better, life can be better. A dedication to generations yet to come. The unending faith that God can help us evolve. Lot's wife had an opportunity to begin again, to pick up the pieces of a life that had become shattered and to forge a new life, and she blew it. Unfortunately, we and Lot's wife failed to heed the wisdom of Mark Twain, who once wrote, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things that you didn't do than by the ones that you did do. So throw off the bow lines. Sail away from the safe harbor. Catch the trade winds in your sails. Explore, dream, and discover. Let's take Mark Twain's ideas and challenge seriously today and for always as we in life go forward to be the fullest most accomplished, and really the happiest people that we can possibly be. That's the message of this Torah portion. Shabbat Shalom.